Ampetuashte, Suzanne Kite Amachiapi. Hello, my name is Suzanne Kite. I'm an Oglála Lakļóta artist, composer, and a PhD candidate at Concordia University.
Shodaje. My name is Caroline Reninholf. I am a member of the Apsáalooke Nation, also known as Crow, from Montana.
Tēnā tātou katoa, ko huhoi mai nei kei rungi I te kaupapa o tēnei rā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ko tarawera tuku maunga, ko tarawera tuku awa, ko te aroa tuku waka, ko Ngāti Rangitahi toku iwi, no matata hau, ko Melanie Shang toku ingoa. My name's Dr. Melanie Shang and I'm from Ngāti Rangitahi, which is a Māori tribe in the central North Island of New Zealand.
Ongiatori. Ongiatori eminzurinatoi. Ikustin zaitustanak, eta ikustin es zaitustanak. So welcome. Welcome to those here, both seen and unseen. Michelle Libra naisni, Uskalden naisni, Mjeritsin naisni, eta Saxon naisni. My name is Michelle Lee Brown. I'm Muscogee and Basque. I'm from the Iparralde region, what would be known as Biarritz in English or in French.
There were people from Hawaii, Turtle Island, New Zealand, Australia, and basically Tuwananga means to have a discussion. And so we had lots of lively, wonderful discussions. And I think one of the most wonderful things about being part of the collaboration was hanging out with a big bunch of native nerds. Yeah.
To Indigenous communities, data is not just disembodied bits and bytes. Data is the sacred stories and voices of our relatives. It's personal. And with that comes the responsibility to treat the data of all our relations with respect, and to consider the ramifications of our actions and the AI's actions 7 generations down the line. Honestly, shouldn't everyone's data be treated with respect like that?
I guess that's best embodied by what I did when I opened here today, which is to welcome all of us, seen and unseen. For us, there are multiple temporalities that exist at the same time. And the really interesting thing about this video meeting is this sort of embodies it as well. I'm speaking it at one point. Melanie is graciously editing this at another point, and you may or may not be watching this at the same time as other viewers. So these sort of fluctuating, sitting on top of each other, nested temporalities and these different materialities that are involved are really important for me to acknowledge. It's how I was raised, and recognizing that you're surrounded by so many things we can barely sense. And that doesn't mean we should operate as if they aren't there, but reciprocity is always keyed into that. That is to welcome, to give, to exchange. And when I say reciprocity, it's not in a deficit sense or a debt sense, but rather that giving and exchanging that builds and strengthens relationships and repairs them if they're cut or strained.
So in my own work, I've been consulting with knowledge keepers to begin to see how we can adapt Lakota protocols to the building of objects such as computation devices, particularly sculptures which utilize machine learning to listen. As my grandfather says of listening to stones, he says it's not done through our minds, it's done through our spirits.
I integrate general Indigenous values that are shared throughout very diverse Indigenous communities in all of my work and my life. These universal values are respect, relationality, responsibility, relevance, and reciprocity. In addition to these overarching values, there are specific Indigenous protocols that flow into my work depending on the Indigenous community that I am working with. For example, I'm working with some of the Oglála language communities to develop automatic speech recognition. Part of that process is to identify Oglála protocols and discern how these Oglála protocols affect the way we design AI with them.
In terms of the Indigenous protocols that I've used in my artificial intelligence work, it's really no different to what I do in the biological setting. And the tikanga that we developed involved karakia, which are chants or prayers, acknowledging the other world and that what is not seen. And actually, also acknowledging the relationships that we have. So that's one. Another thing that we have is I often sing, which sounds a little weird, but in our culture, singing is a really important role that women do. And also singing is one of the ways that we memorialise things. So we didn't have a written language before colonisation, so we remember by singing. And it's also what we call a type of whakanoa, so it removes the sacredness of a situation. So if you're doing very sacred work and you're able to sing a song, it kind of changes the environment. And then the third thing, believe it or not, is eating. So it was really great to whakanoa. So we do ceremonies and then we eat. And when we eat, it is a part of the ceremony to symbolise the finishing of that ceremony, but also the end of doing something sacred and coming back into the normal world.
Some other Indigenous protocols, I'm from a coastal community, so for us, change, flexibility, and adaptation are a part of who we are. But that doesn't mean we don't have sort of core tenets, and again, reciprocity being one of them, because we've been here for thousands of years. And I think knowing that, it shifts what you see as important. And for us, technology is something we've always adapted and adjusted and sort of made it our own. And the question then becomes, what can these systems do? When you have thousands of years of history to draw on and that amazing richness, it's really important to understand that and embracing and centering that can radically alter the kind of futures that are possible.
I contributed a section called How to Build Anything Ethically. And this is a guide to ethical decision making when building technologies that includes 2 examples. First is how to use protocol in building a Lakota sweat lodge and seeing how that is a framework for building a physical computation device. And then I talk about how multiple streams of protocol are necessary to build on AI systems as a confluence of ethics. And it can be very overwhelming to address the ethics of each step of the building process, from the coding to the physical device to the distribution, but it's absolutely necessary for building things in a good way.
I contributed the essay, Wriggling Through Muddy Waters, Revitalizing Muscogee Practices with AI Systems. And a lot of that essay dealt with me talking about the eel elder VR experience, where there would be an AI housed in an eel, an elder, and it would distribute particular teachings based on the relationship each individual player builds or doesn't build with that AI system.
As Team Prototype, we decided to build a Hawaiian language app using image recognition while demonstrating Indigenous protocols in action.
Going forward, our hope is that Indigenous protocols will be integrated into artificial intelligence and machine learning, so that diverse worldviews, spirit, the unseen world will be acknowledged. And despite the fact that some people might see machines as having no spirit, within our cultures, there is an origin of those materials from rocks, hydrocarbons, metals, and they are still related to us.
By integrating Indigenous protocols in AI, we raise awareness and considerations of the ethical and social ramifications. My hope is that the conversations around Indigenous data sovereignty and protocols will improve AI for everyone.
These ideas may seem radical, but radical change is absolutely necessary in order to reverse the exploitation of human and non-human.
Osasuna, be well.